Welcome to Wine Soundtrack International. Listen to the passion with which producers narrate their winery and their world. In 30 answers, discover their stories, personalities, and passions.
Hello, friends and listeners of Wine Soundtrack. This is Alison Levine, and I'm sitting with Andrea Costa of Marenco Winery. We're in Strevi, which is in the Piemonte region in Italy. And Andrea, welcome and tell us about Marenco.
Thank you, Alison. Thank you for being in Strevi. Thank you for being in the village I love. And Marenco, which is the winery of my family, founded by my great-grandfather in 1925, making Moscato, Bracchetto, and Barbera since then.
Wow. So I'm a big lover of Bracchetto and Moscato and Barbera. So all wonderful wines. What is your total hectares and how much wine are you producing of each of these things?
So we make 250,000 bottles. Almost 200,000 is the aromatic wine, so bean, Moscato, and Bracchetto. And the rest is the Barbera with a few niches in terms of quantity, but very important in terms of passion and love and quality of the wines.
And then you have two little special wines I know that I was just able to taste that are pretty obscure indigenous grapes. Can you just mention a little bit about those?
Yeah, two indigenous grapes from Piemonte. You know, now the trends, the demand, the market makes the farmer decision. So in Piemonte in these days we all plant Nebbiolo, Moscato, Barbera because they sell. Mm-hmm. But we're farmers, we like diversity, we like to take some risks, and when there is a grape, we like it. If we can, we do it. So, two different grapes, two different stories, but very, very good. Both related to Barbera. One is white, is Carica l'Asino. It's the name of the grape, and it's been discovered recently that it's a Barbera with a white skin. And the other is Albarossa, which is a very different story because this is a new grape in Piemonte. This we know exactly when it was born, 1938, from a flower cross between Barbera and Nebbiolo di Dronero.
Ooh, fantastic. Now, your wines are available all around the world?
Well, not everywhere because we're not that big and, to be honest, we don't want to go everywhere, but we have good friends which we share the same passions in some countries around the world.
Okay. So you grew up in this. You said your great-grandfather started the winery. I know that it is a winery run today by your mother and her two sisters. One of them is the winemaker. And you're involved. What is your first memory relevant to wine?
Well, I remember as a little kid the harvest period. I think back in the time, now it's like 35 years ago, it was harder than it is today. Much more manual work, still a lot, but those days were very, very intense, and I always have a good memory of going to the cellar when there was the harvest time because it was we always say it, but it's kind of true. Harvest is very tough, but also very good because that's when as a farmer, that's where you harvest. That's when you see the result of 12 months of work. So even if you're a little kid and you don't understand the economics around that, you still perceive, I think, the beauty and the magic of this moment.
So as that magic carried on, what is you've been drinking great wine all your life, I'm sure, being surrounded by all the wonderful vineyards that you are and what your family makes. But what is one of the memories of one of the most memorable wines you ever drank? What that occasion was? Something that sort of changed things in your mind of how you perceived either a grape or wine in general?
Well, this is recent. Well, I have different memories, but like in the past, I remember when we opened at Christmas, we opened bottles of other producers and very also important bottles. And I remember this time when we opened this Sassicaia, I think it was 1979, and it was very good. But then my grandfather tasted it and he said, "Yeah, it's good, but our Dolcetto is much better." And he believed that. So. And then one is more recent. It was like 2 years ago, and that was eye opener. And we had blind tastings at a friend of mine. She's owner and sommelier in a very nice restaurant. in Liguria called Quintilio, and she covered the bottles. We started with France, and then she also hid a bottle of Albarossi in the middle, which I recognized, and blah, blah, blah. And in the end, the last bottle we tasted, I said, oh, this must be old, like probably 10 years ago or something like that. And then when she opened the bottle, it was Chateau Margaux 1991. And that really changed my mind about how long a wine can last. So this was an eye-opener, definitely, about red wines.
Wow. So you've had the opportunity to travel around the world a bit. Do you think that there's a particular culture or country where people have the best access or drinking the best wines?
Well, UK and US, by far, talking about Western side, is where I think the wines are more accessible. Italy is probably one of the last. Probably as a producing country, we have good wines, but very, very local. Mm-hmm. While these countries like UK and US, you always find nice wine stores or restaurant or sommelier, very knowledgeable. So I think there.
If we were to come to your home, not your wine cellar, not your parents' wine cellar, which we know has some good gems. If we were to come to your home, what would we find in your cellar?
Well, we are building it because we're making a new house, which we will start in October this year. And I went to Burgundy in July. So now you will find a lot of Pinot Noir and Chablis and a lot of Chardonnay, which was the real surprise of that vacation, how good the Chardonnay is over there.
Wow.
So that's what you would find right now. But we're filling in. So...
So I won't ask you what you're drinking best now, because obviously you have to build the cellar yet. But is there anything that you're drinking right now that you're just loving, aside from the glass of Brachetto that's in your hand right now?
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of Marenco in my diet. But yeah, I like wines in general. I like Grenache. I like Grenache from the south of France. I like it a lot. Right now, I'm a fan of Pinot Noir also from Oregon, for example. I like it. The Grenache from France, as I was saying, and the whites from the Dolomite, from the Trentino. I think these are very, very good. And yes,
you're gonna have a really good cellar. So, in tasting all these different wines and with the wines that you work with, do you think there's a such thing as a perfect variety?
Not really. There is just a perfect winemaker, because as I heard in France once, there is no good or bad variety. There is just good or bad winemaker. So as long as you make the variety express, you're going to make a good wine.
I like that answer. And so then on that note, what's your opinion about wine critics and scores? Are you going to tell me there's all good wine critics, just not good wine?
I'm open. I mean, I made a project that I call Scrapona 100 punti or 100 points, because I think Moscato d'Asti deserves more. So I'm not against scores. It's like it's competition. So we play the competition. If the critics give me a good award, I'm happy. I don't care about. Personally, I'm not looking for critics to decide what to drink. Mm-hmm. But still, I understand there is critics. So we try to make a better wine every year, and hopefully the critics give a better score every year.
Absolutely. So you as a wine consumer, if you had to choose, can you choose red, white, or rosé?
Red.
Still or sparkling?
Still.
God, that was easy. Wow. Pairing wine and food. Obviously, it's a natural process for you here in Italy. I mean, it's natural. The cuisine usually matches the wines that are produced in the region. But when you're creating a meal at home and with the different wines you drink, how do you look at food and wine pairing? Do you follow rules? And if so, what kind of rules do you look for? No, making wine, I stopped following rules. And especially making Moscato d'Asti, because I started saying Moscato is the wine for panettone and for panna cotta and tiramisu, and I still believe it's true, but I now believe there is much more than that. So I go back and forth from red to sweet to white to sparkling and vice versa, and I've seen some very nice things that I didn't expect. So yeah. I'm really open. We just had a rabbit salad with Moscato, so I'd say that's a little out of the box. Yeah, that's that's out of the box, but that has been told by Mario Soldati many years ago in his book. So we actually copied what he said. So So, do you have any secret remedies for hangovers? I mean, when we drink wines with a little extra sugar in them, sometimes we can get a little hangover in the morning. Do you have any secrets that you could share?
Yeah, drink a lot of water. That's scientific. The alcohol dries you up, so drink water. That's it. Don't do stupid things. Just drink water.
No magic there. So, for somebody who's never tasted your wine, not yet, what do you think they're missing out on?
They miss good. They miss goodness. The wine. The first thing of the wine, the wine must please you. They must please the taste and must please your expectation with whatever you can expect. So that's what we try to do. The good taste, and then what stays behind must be all good. So we are sustainable. We care a lot about sustainability. We do it for ourselves first because we live in the country where we produce. And all the things must be at the right place. But first of all, the goodness, the perception, the enjoyment that you feel when you drink. That's the most important thing of the wine. The taste, the emotion that the wine gives you.
Well, I would add that Marenco exudes family, and I think that's a wonderful sensation when you come here.
Thank you very much.
So if space aliens were to land on your property, which of your wines would you want to present to them?
Space aliens? Mm-hmm. Well, I would keep the best for the terrestrial, so I don't know, but not the best. I keep the best for the Earth people. Then we will see.
So which of your wines might you want to introduce someone to? Start them off with, and then if they're good people, you could give them what you call the best.
Yeah, I don't know, because you always have to start from something good. So it's hard to say what to leave behind. But let's say to taste the Passito di Moscato, the Caricalasi, and the Moscato Scrapona, I must know you. Otherwise, I start from something else.
Well, I feel lucky because I've tasted this. So, vintages and harvests. As you're entering into the 2019 harvest, we know that every vintage tells a different story, and there's variation. Here in this region, do you see more variation from year to year or more similarities?
More variation from year to year. The weather is crazy, so the variations are huge, and we're working on it. We're still in a good latitude, but we need to work a lot.
Mm-hmm. And are there any signs or omens that you look for that will kind of predict what to expect each year?
No, unfortunately, it's impossible to predict. As far as I know, but I don't know much. But as far as I know, it's impossible to predict what's going to happen next year.
So now I know that, many producers are known for talking to their vineyards and going in the cellar and talking to their wine. We visited one of the parts of your vineyard tonight and walked up a very steep hill. I'm wondering, when you're trudging up that hill from time to time, if you ever speak to the grapes, or if they're speaking to you.
Well, let's start from the fact that I'm an engineer, so I tend to see the world in a black or white way. So I usually don't speak to vineyards, but I get emotion when I walk the Scrapona Hill. Yes.
Uh-huh. And that Scrapona Hill, you were telling a great story. Why don't you just share the little story about that particular hill?
Yeah, that's the Moscato vineyard that we love. That's where we make the wine Scrapona from, and that was where Marenco has been originated, because that was the first vineyard that my great grandmother had and shared with my great grandfather, who had the opposite side, in 1925 when they got married, and that's how the winery I grew up in started.
So they had neighboring vineyards, fell in love.
Exactly.
So when you were little, what did you want to be when you grew up?
The Pope, then the guy that gives tickets in the highways, and then a pilot. If I would go back, I would think about being a pilot for aeroplanes. I like that.
But you ended up studying engineering, and you were working at Ferrari for a while.
Yeah, that was my first job. I did the thesis for graduation, and then they hired me, and I stayed there for 6 years, working in production first and then in procurement. Yeah.
So what brought you back to the family winery?
Well, I knew that I wanted to go to do that sooner or later, and the way I'm made, I like to do something even smaller but more mine.
Mm-hmm. When you're not working, how do you spend your free time?
I like basketball. I play basketball, and now I'm almost done with that. So we opened a basketball school, and that's taking a lot of my time.
Wow.
And I like dirt bikes, motorbikes.
Fantastic. And do you have a sports team that you're a fan of?
Milan, AC Milan for soccer, yes.
And so if or when AC Milan wins, which of your wines would you present to them?
Actually, the owner of Inter, which is the opposite team as us, is Chinese, and they want to import some of my wines. So we're thinking about it, if to give them or not to them.
But would you give, if your team won, would you give them one of your best wines?
Yeah, of course, yes. I would like to share, yes.
And which one might that be?
Well, a Magnum, of course, and there will be Scrapona. We need some sparkling when we win.
Of course. And for planning, I know you said you have you told me earlier you have a small child at home, so I don't know how many romantic evenings you get. But when you do plan a romantic evening with your wife, what are the wines that you'd be serving and drinking?
Well, I like champagne. I'm a fan, so I would like a bottle of that, and I would finish with the Moscato d'Asti or a Brachetto d'Acqui, but I would do something else in the middle. Yes.
So, working with your family and with the great mentors that you've had, is there a piece of advice that you've received that you carry with you, and who shared it with you?
Yeah, there are many. It's hard to remember now, but there are a few that I feel I got in my previous experience, and also I have to be honest. Also working with my mom and dad now, I'm getting some good stuff and some good experience and point of views that I share and point of views that I don't share, but also some.
Any particular points of view that you're sort of following or sharing with them?
Well, the passion that they transmit, that's the main point, yes.
And if you could offer advice to the listeners, what would you share with them?
Be curious. Don't drink out of the box. Drink something good and don't care about critics we talked about but try to find out. The world is full of good wines that need to be discovered, and it's full of good winemakers. This is the part I like the most about my job. The people I meet, everyone who makes the wine from the smallest region in an unknown place to the biggest producer in a famous area, they all share the same blink of the eye, bright eyes and passion. So go look for good wines. Don't stay mass. Go away.
When you think about, I know you've only been with the family winery for a few years now, but there's a long history of the winery. What would you say is your proudest achievement to date so far working here?
Well, I always say I know I'm not the first one to say that, but I like this saying. The best vintage is going to be next one. So the 2019, go for it.
Just no rain, no more rain.
Exactly. No more rain.
No more rain. So complete this sentence for me. A table without wine is like?
It's like summer without sun.
Italians always have the most romantic answers. Imagine this scenario. Paparazzi capture someone sitting at a restaurant, drinking your wine. Who would you want that person to be?
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Okay. We're almost finished. You're going to a deserted island. What 3 wines would you take with you?
A good champagne, because it's fresh. Desert islands usually are hot.
Uh-huh.
And then I would take a Barbaresco from Produttori, one of the Riserva. I would have to ask which one. I would have to check which one, but one of them.
Uh-huh.
and a passito di Moscato Scrapona because I work for Marenco.
Okay, so now I want you to pair a few wines, those wines with music. What would you want to be listening to while you drink those wines? Starting with, let's start with your passita.
Classic music, Mozart.
Okay, and the Barbaresco.
Vasco Rossi.
And champagne.
Madonna.
Fantastic. What's one place in the world, wine world, that you want to explore that's at the top of your list that you want to head to next?
Alsace.
Alsace.
Yeah. They do aromatic and and I've been in Strasbourg. I love this town and I want to visit more the region.
Well, Andrea, as you're planning your trip to Strasbourg and other people might want to plan their trip to here, just can you let people know how they can find you, where they can find you, and how they can visit you?
At Marenco Vini, Andrea Costa is my name, so you find me on the socials, and Marenco Winery. So Google it and you get here in Strevi, this little village in the heart of Piemonte. And
you have a tasting room, yes?
We do have a tasting room. We are open 7 days per week during season, and we're available for any kind of tasting upon reservation.
Fantastic. And there's also some little Airbnb apartments here overlooking the vineyard, so you might want to check those out.
Yeah, please come and check it. We wait for you. Grazie mille.
Grazie, Andrea. Cin cin. Salute.
We didn't even delay the group too much.
Thanks for listening to a new episode of Wine Soundtrack International. For details and updates, visit our website, winesoundtrack.com.